everyone, I'm Ryan. You're watching 60 Cycle Hum, and in this video, I'm going to try my very best. I'm going to try my darndest to shoot out 3 different amp and cabson pedals. I've got the Strymon Iridium, the Walrus ACS1, and the UA Dream 65 Reverb amp. And I've got all 3 of these dialed in to my ear as close as I could get them as far as gain levels go, as far as like EQ goes with lows and highs and whatnot. I have the reverbs off on all of them for the most part right now. And I got it as close as I could. There's gonna be differences because they're different products and they sound different. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm gonna run direct into my recorder over here. No amps are on. I'm not running into any amps. No 2 Princetons. No Tone King Imperial back here. In my initial video of the Dream, someone said, of course it sounds good. You're running through the Imperial. I wasn't. I was running direct in that video as well. So anyways, here we go. Fender Amp Pro 2 Jazzmaster. Completely clean. None of these are on. None of my pedals are on. No amplifiers. This is just guitar into field recorder. Check the tune real quick. There we go. That doesn't sound too bad. Kind of jangly in an acoustic way. But not really the sound most people look for in an electric guitar. So let's start with the Iridium. Onto the Walrus. And then the UA. Even on this very clean, dry, and flat sort of setting, I can hear some differences between these 3. The Iridium to me sounds the flattest of them all, which doesn't bother me. I really like using this pedal on my live pedal board when I'm running direct in front of house because it is flat and it makes it a decent like pedal platform. It's honestly pretty similar to how I keep my Princetons dialed in. Not a ton of personality, but all the frequencies and just a really flat, open-ended sort of sound that's going to take, you know, the high personality pedals and guitars I'm going to throw at it fairly well. The Walrus brings in a bit more personality. And it's by way of kind of a brightness, a bit of a twanginess in the high mids and the high frequencies. Go back to the Iridium. You hear that? There's a bit more of a twang happening. And then onto the Dream. I feel like the Dream has the most realistic amount of twang and jangle and brightness. It's almost like you can hear the whines on the strings vibrating. Like it just has this really great, natural, realistic simulation of the twang that you get in a Fender style amp. Where in comparison to my ear, the Walrus, that twang and that character is coming more from like a filtered sound on those high mids and those high frequencies. And the UA just sounds quite a bit more realistic to me. I mean, you guys can disagree. You think my ears are wrong? Yeah. No, I stand by that. The UA just has a more realistic kind of like twang and character and personality to it that these two are doing in different ways and not quite hitting the mark that this hits. But that's not everything. Like, that's a very specific sound that people like me care about, but not everyone is going to care about. Now, I want to get into something that's very important to me, reverb. So let's go through the Iridium to the Walrus to the Dream. The Iridium and the Walrus have more what I would consider like studio recording style reverbs. There's a pretty decent room on the Iridium here. Gives you a nice splash. I'll turn it all the way up. Pull it back a bit. Just enough to give it a bit of like physical space and to smooth out like anything brittle that's happening and to smear those mids and whatnot. I do actually appreciate the reverb that's in this Strymon. It's a reverb that I use when I use it. Now, the reverb on the Walrus is very much a studio reverb. You see that I already have it up fairly significantly because it's very, very fast. It's very slapbacky. It's very much simulating a small physical room that's around your virtual amp with a virtual microphone on it. Like, you really can't even hear it there. It is just making it feel a little bit more natural. I'll crank it up so you can hear what's happening. Very slapbacky, very fast, very short trail on that reverb. Definitely something you use as a recording effect versus, or a recording reverb style effect versus having a guitar style or amp style effect. And then the UA is where things get really interesting because this has a full-blown amp style. And I mean like Fender drippy surfy amp style reverb here. Check this out. It drips. They really did it. They really made it drip. That's just halfway up. Like, you can turn this thing all the way up and just get buried in reverb. Yeah. You know that seals the deal for me. You know that I love that. Also, it's got a built-in trim. So yeah, there's a lot of features there that appeal to me with the UA without saying. And you know, I love these two. I have used these two pedals exclusively as my into front of house amplifier solutions when I play at church for like 2 or 3 years now, maybe even longer than that, maybe like 4 years. I don't know, I'll have to check when I got the Iridium in because that's when I started going direct, I think. No, actually I was using that Nux thing before. So it's been years. It has been a significant amount of years that I've been going completely ampless at church using products like these two products specifically. And I like them. I think they have a lot of strengths to them. But then this comes out. And it just grabs my heart. It knows what I like. It knows who I am, and it gives me what I want, you know? So there's other things to cover here. I want to cover the drive sounds across these, but before I mess up the settings I have going on, I'm going to try hitting these with some pedals, because I think the way that these sorts of products filter drives from, say, fuzzes and distortions and overdrives is really important, especially for someone like me that's using this at the end of my pedal chain as a direct to front of house amplifier stimulating sort of situation. So let's make sure I've got the same sort of dry sound here. No tricks, I haven't goosed anything while I've been sitting here playing. Now I'm gonna throw on a fuzz. Might as well start with fuzz. I'm gonna use the Bigger Pedals Slice of Pie. Here it is without any amp sims on. And here is the Iridium. That's a tough one. It really is. Because they're all filtering it in a way. And I'm not going to get a full picture of how that sounds right now with the headphones on, because I'm picking up the acoustic sounds with the overhead mic here. But to my ear, I think I almost preferred the Walrus with that one. I mean, there's things that can be dialed around there. No, it's weirdly close but different. I think they all kind of perform well in their own way. Maybe just they all perform a little bit poorly in their own ways too. I don't know. It doesn't sound like I'm hitting a real amp with fuzz. Fuzz really reveals a lot about what's happening with the simulation, where the filtering is happening and things like that. And none of them have that big, open, clear sound when being hit by the static of a fuzz that I enjoy so much with, you know, my real amplifiers. But there were some differences. You know, you guys fight those out in the comments section. Let's move on to an overdrive. I got the Wampler Bell down here. To my ear, immediately the UA is winning. It has more personality, it has more character. Yeah, the Iridium sounds a bit muffled to my ear right now. Actually, kind of like the Walrus for that. Yeah, it's in between the Walrus and the UA for sure, with an overdrive. All right, let's move on to a distortion. I've got the big ear pedals woodcutter on the floor. With the distortion, I kind of feel the same way I did about the fuzz. Not really a big surprise, a higher gain, kind of like static sort of thing going on. You didn't get the personality difference that you get with the overdrive because it's just such a brute force sort of thing you're doing. I think it really becomes incredibly subjective, and it becomes up to you, the listener, which one you prefer in that scenario. I'd probably be dialing these around to be different, probably more flat, more accepting towards high gain sounds when I'm actually using them in a playing scenario. I don't want to mess up how they're all very similar right now, but maybe I'll revisit that after I do the next thing. Let's explore the gain range of each one of these pedals without anything on the board adding gain at all. So you can see the drive is already pretty far up on the Iridium, and the volume, the level is already pretty far up. Like, this one has the least volume headroom of all of them, to be sure. So I'll turn up that drive all the way. It really doesn't add much in the way of dirt. There is a bit of like a bright punch there on the edges, a little bit of a hint of like a crispy thing starting to happen. But it's more of a compression than a distortion, at least on the round setting, which is the Fender setting. I'm going to go through the other settings on the Walrus after I show off its gain range on the Fender setting. So the gain on here is also up pretty far already. We'll dime it out. Similar thing, kind of a presence and compression kind of thing happening, a little bit a crisp like character on the edges of the thing. I guess a little bit crispy. But not what I would call gain, really. Things change when you go to other amp settings, so we'll go down to chime. So yeah, you get some gain on the Vox setting on the Iridium. And then down to the Marshall setting as well. Now, obviously, these are not ideal Marshall sounds. I haven't dialed in the rest of this to kind of match that sort of sound. But there is some crunch there. All right, on to... I always forget what London is and what Dartford is. Is London Vox and Dartford Marshall? I can't remember, so sorry if I screw this up. Yeah, really not much going on in the gain department, even on that London setting. Here's the Dartford setting. I think that's the Vox setting. Yeah, you really don't get really any gain with the Walrus. You get some gain with Iridium on the Vox and the Marshall settings, but I don't think anyone is getting one of these and leaning into it for high gain sounds and for just like their dedicated crunch sounds. It's more like dialing in edge of breakup sounds with those emulations of classic amplifiers. And this is more about saturation and presence and compression and things like that. That's what my ear is hearing anyways. Now the Dream gives you amp distortion. It really does. You can get it a variety of ways. I'm going to start with the volume control here. So that's the pre-volume and this is the master output. Even just that little bit of tweak there, and you can hear I'm over the hump of edge of breakup. Right there is probably the top end edge of where I would dial this in gain wise. I'm not someone who uses my Fender style amps to get dirty and gritty in that sort of way. But that's the sound right there. Like, even if you're just looking for edge of breakup, the Dream does that sound, and it does it really well. To dial in something similar to that with Iridium. Need it to fatten up a little bit. Saturated in a gainy sort of way, but it doesn't have that crunch to it. I guess there's a little bit, but that just sounds like an amp. It does the thing. Let's try hitting it with an overdrive, the Wampler bell again. It sounds way more filtered in comparison. Sounds filtered and brittle in comparison. Sounds a bit dark, but not as filtered. You know what I mean? let's check out the full range of the gain on this. Now that we've proven that just with the volume up to noon, it surpasses the gain of these pretty much all the way up. And then there's the boost function as well, with 3 different flavors of boost. I got a little bit lost there. So the treble knob appeared to be down this entire time. It's because I used it to turn off the tremolo that I had earlier, but it was still on. Oh, that's nasty. I think that's right about where I had it dialed in before I dumped, you know, that control for the tremolo settings. That's the sort of thing that I know is going to just cause controversy. Oh, did you see the treble control the entire time? Come on, guys. I know what I'm doing here. It wasn't turned all... Forget it. I'm not going to explain it to you people. You either have it figured out or you don't. So let's talk about kind of pros and cons between all of these. The Iridium, nice flat sound, takes pedals really well in my opinion. They're all compromises when it comes to running fuzzes and high gain through them. It probably sounded better on your side than it did with mine because I'm hearing the dry microphone mixed into it. As far as Fender amp sounds, this is a specialist and it nails it, especially like the reverb, especially kind of like the bright kind of jangly twangy character on the top end without sounding filtered and things like that. The edge of breakup sounds, the Dream just nails it. Yeah, I like that. I could see myself recording like a surf demo. with just this, with just the Dream. It sounds better than a lot of the surf recordings I've made when I was recording little demos and stuff and little like proofs of concept when I was putting my band together. It sounds better, and I was using amps and spring reverbs and stuff. It does the thing. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed with the Dream, and the whole reason I wanted to do this video was to show exactly why, because I actually have quite a bit of experience with products like this, other products like this, especially these two, and I've got a drawer full of other products that do similar things for me. But the amount of stuff that this does while specializing and just nailing these very specific sounds is incredibly impressive to me. So yeah, there are some strong points to the Iridium and the Walrus, and I think, you know, if you like them, you already have them, don't get rid of them. If you don't need the sounds that I favor with these, there's no reason to move from these to this, because as I demonstrated, kind of the way it handles high gain stuff, fuzz, distortion, and whatnot, is somewhat similar. Like, there's no huge advancement in that territory, but yeah, drippy reverb, the trem, the edge of breakup stuff, like the Fender sounds when you turn up an amp and start getting it crispy and stuff, they're all there with this. A big plus to the Iridium and the ACS1 is that they do have integrated headphone jacks. The Strymon has the headphone jack right there, and the Walrus has a headphone jack right there on the side. And that is convenient. And it is something I wish was on the Dream. I really do. Like I said, I use these sorts of products live when I'm playing at church, and I use in-ears. And sometimes, you know, there's failures either on my board or in the sound system or something like that. And I need to quickly figure out, is it my board or is it the PA? And so I'll unplug my pack and I'll plug it into the headphone jack here or here and be like, well, it's not my board, so it's something after my board, where that functionality is kind of gone with the UA. I can plug into the output jacks with a headphone plug, but I'll need to bring in a little adapter. Actually, let me try that right now. People have been asking about it. Officially, UA says that you should plug in a Y connector into this to get your stereo with headphones, but I'm just going to test if it passed signal from one side. Yeah, I can hear it, but it's not loud. And I have to have that adapter on the ready. Yeah. Yeah, much, much better headphone experience with the Strymon just now. So that is a bit of a bummer for sure that this does not have the headphone jack. It's such a simple, silly little thing that they should have included. But honestly, I think that's the only negative that I found with the Dream so far. What do you guys think? You've been sitting here listening this whole time. I'm sure you have opinions and whatnot. You tell me in the comments what you think of the sounds of these three products. I have other products that I could potentially shoot out. I think I'd like to do an HX Stomp shootout, because that's one I'm not totally sure how they'll do. I know that I prefer for a pedal board sort of setup to use something like this where the knobs are physical and I can turn them quickly and treat it like an amplifier for my amp sim on my pedal board. But I suspect that I'll be able to get a lot closer sound-wise to the Dream with the HX Stomp than I was able to with the Iridium and the ACS1. So let me know what you think in that direction. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, dislike, leave me rude and nasty comments. Support us on Patreon. Buy a shirt if you're naked, and stay grounded. Bye, everybody.